Yes, we are, 3:32.
Yeah,
Cool.
cool. So happy to have you all back today. It's like I said, it was uh, not the plan for me to be there today, but because of the movements of the class in the last couple of weeks, I had to kind of sit on that session. So I was told that I had to really, really perform well, right? I mean, the boss told me I had to step up my game. And hopefully that transfers into what we cover today, and of course, makes a very successful session for us, yeah? So last week we did this, the business model canvas. Question for you all: how many of you all had the opportunity to go back and look at your business and try to figure out how to complete that task for your own operation? Only a handful. I mean, Tiana, what's happened?
Why you gotta pick me for this one?
No, I mean, you shook your head. How did you just stay silent? I would not have told you.
Because I've had so much going on. I
Okay.
intended to, and I had to transfer my websites and they crashed, and then my
Oh.
email went down. And so getting email up and going and websites up and going kind of took precedence.
Absolutely. I mean, these are fundamental workings for your business operation, I can imagine. Without those functioning units, you can't perform, right? You can't do what you do. No, but I think it's an important tool to leverage. And I think I kind of closed out the last session saying that the business model canvas is a dynamic tool, right? It changes as the value proposition changes, right? So today we're going to look at innovation and innovation around the business model. I assume I'm going to go through the assumption that everyone read the article, even at least just glanced over the article. So maybe I could just hear your thoughts for the first 5-10 minutes on the article, what you took out from it. Kevin,
Quickly. I'll share. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Veronica.
Hi. Okay, so the article, it kind of resonated with me because I am in the process of changing. I don't want to say changing my business model. I'm updating the way I do things.
Okay.
And without going into too much detail, really just kind of repositioning the business to grow. So the point that the article made about making the decision between whether your business will benefit more from product innovation or business model innovation really resonated with me, because there are some product development things that I would like to do, but until the business model is where I know it needs to be, and operations are achieving the things that I want to achieve, adding new products and innovating is really not going to be the highest priority. So
Okay.
it really resonated with me because I've learned some serious lessons recently about planning, and how as a business owner you can plan everything to a T, but if you have partners who don't execute, in my case it's my manufacturer, it doesn't matter. So, that's one of the things that has made it necessary for me to change a few of the things that we do. But that part of the article really resonated with me. And I have to admit that reading the beginning of the article, the whole concept was a little bit abstract, right?
Yeah.
So I had to step away and think about my business, in terms of product development and business model. I literally looked up business model. I mean, I think it's self-explanatory, but I'm like, let me make sure I understand what they're saying. So it is how your business does things. And I kind of stepped back and thought about my business, and with that context, it made a little bit more sense. But yeah, it was really interesting to read it for me right now.
No, wonderful, wonderful. Before I get to you, Tiana, does everyone? So I heard what you said, Veronica. You said that you have to put a pause on the product development side of things and really work on the business model internally to kind of figure out which is the best pathway that I should choose for growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
The question for you all, is this a sequential thing, or could it be done in parallel, in tandem?
I think it depends on the business. It depends on your resources. It depends on your priorities and your goals. For me right now, it does not make sense. So, and I guess to add a little context around that, I have been exclusively on Amazon since launching in September of 2021. After outsourcing manufacturing, we're setting ourselves up to add additional channels without too much strain. It's just not the right time to add new products. So.
Okay, no, that's point well taken. Excellent. Tiana, you're going to say something, and then Kimber.
Yeah, so the article was like so over my head. I was swimming. And so I found another article that was, I think the article was written with the assumption that there's certain things that you know already. And because I was coming into it, pretty much an empty slate. So I had to back up and try and learn the prerequisites for the article. So I found an article that did a good job, but then Rob found a video that did like an excellent job. Those two blew my mind. Then I was able to come back and read the article. And in my case, I was able to give myself a pat on the back because I had already gone through major business model innovations without realizing that's what I was doing. And for the last 30 years, my business has been based on not accepting the common knowledge and things considered fact by the other people in my industry. So I was able to go, yay, I'm doing it, and didn't even know it.
All right. Kimber?
Yes, hi everyone, good afternoon. Hi again, Bevan.
Hi.
So, reading the article was fine. I graduated with my MBA, let's see, how old is my son? 16 years ago.
Wow.
And I just laughed the entire time. I was like, somebody should have said that we was going back to grad school. So you definitely have to put, and if you weren't ready, you definitely aren't ready. You kind of have to get your head in that space. So I had to put my grad school cap back on. But interestingly enough, it also reminded me of, what the big consulting firms get paid for, right? Really understanding the technical pieces, whereas entrepreneurs, co-founders, owners, business people like myself, we move more away from technicality and into the gut, right? And so what does your gut tell you to do? And I think sometimes it's fair to swing back to technical and say, I might be missing some things, but I think we are built to start learning and trusting our gut. And sort of to Veronica's point, I'm actually at this junction where I'm trying to make a decision about taking on a new service that I can create new revenue streams from for the consumers that we already serve. And sort of broadening the scope in what we do. And so instead of just products, actually adding a service component. So I've been toying with that actually for the last couple of weeks. And I think it'll be a nice exercise to sort of try to map this thing out, on the value proposition model and to see whether my gut and the technicality
is aligned.
Exactly will actually meet. Now, mind you, the gut usually takes over, but it's stalling a bit. And so I'm like, why are you stalling, gut? So we'll see. Maybe if we're missing a piece, that's going to be the true revelation. But right now, it'll be curious to see whether gut and technicality will meet. So out of curiosity, I'm kind of
wonderful. Is it Tendai? Is that how do you pronounce that? Yeah.
Thank you. This was really an eye-opening moment for me. My background, just coming from a family business and growing to where I am now, actually being a feeler. I've been able to feel my way through all of this and going with my gut. So Kimba, yes, thank you so much for highlighting that. But reading this article has really challenged me and got me into a position now to look at the products that I have already acquired and created, and it made me think maybe I need to scale back in some areas, and not create the same products just because I feel that they're good, but actually listening to my audience and finding those pain points and plugging maybe some of the products that I already have into those pain areas, and maybe removing some of the ones that I don't need and replacing those with things that are needed. So this is just a totally different angle to look at things. I'm glad, and I'm really happy to experience this and be able to learn more about it too, because it's something I really needed. So I just wanted to say that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Ray. You're muted, yes.
I think a few people have said this already. It was one of those things where when I was reading the article, it gave a name to something that I have been trying to implement or have been implementing for a few years and not necessarily knowing it. I think as an entrepreneur, like we have a focus, well, we wear a bunch of different hats, but we're trying to focus and streamline operations. But then when you see added value by changing a system or changing a process that makes you either save on margin or maybe just operate a lot smoother, you tend to go in that direction just because of limited resources or just because it's a better strategy. But going through the different case studies and reading how they did it, I was shocked to finally get a name, an official title of what I have been doing. And I was kind of happy and proud of myself that I have been moving in that direction. And so this just gave me a level of insight that I didn't have before, that I wasn't just crazy or maybe a little attention deficit disorder, but there is a master plan, and there are larger companies that have found success in streamlining, whether through partnerships or having multifaceted approaches to reaching customers so that there's a whole wraparound of services and products that you can offer them. So it was eye-opening and exciting to read that.
Nice, nice. And I think that's the importance of this, right? I mean, it's to really, like you say, it's confirming, right? It's self-confirming that I am doing something that is aligned with the best practices, right? Excellent. Farid?
Yeah, my comment is, I mean, for me, I think it was a reminder of how the relationship between your product and services and how important it is to own that relationship with the customer. I think that we forget sometimes, we get bogged down in making great products or thinking that, how do we keep improving the product or improving our process and operations, et cetera. But then let's say we come on and we'll sell our product on certain platforms and marketplaces, and we ignore the fact that we don't own the relationship with the customer. And that, in fact, like if you look at like what Apple did, or even what Amazon is doing now, it's really not about products with Amazon. It's all about their customers, right? Those are, Amazon customers. We just supply products on the platform. They own a relationship with the customer. And that we have to be mindful, at least I know my business, I really don't have those relationships with my customers, despite the many of thousands of products that I've sold throughout the years. It's just like I don't have a relationship with them to even consistently innovate through them, find out what they want, how is their customer experience, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a key for my business model or that was just a reminder that my business model can't be just product based. It has to be more customer relationship based.
Nice, nice. We'll touch base on that, Farid. I think that is core to the conversation that we're going to have today with regards to the value proposition canvas, right? Michelle?
Hello, everyone. If you hear some noise in the background, they're doing work in my house. I was thinking, the business module, I think about our mission statement. If you have a mission statement, the growth cycle of your business, where your business, the stage of your business, and the evolution of your business, and how your business model can change based on that, and how we might have to go back and revise our mission statement, because what you originally started out as is not where you're ending up as an organization. So you know, sometimes we're not at that stage yet where we can even think about your business module. You're just trying to stay in operation.
Mhm.
So it's something definitely think about, like, I think Ray touched on, like, you're doing things that make you outstand as a brand already. And then you're like, maybe I could take this a step further, now understanding what a business module is, you know? Like, I've listened to customers based on reviews and develop a product based on feedback from customers, what they're looking for or what's not yet available. So it's something to continually think about, and it's like an awakening for us to think, oh, I could grow my business in a different direction instead of just buying and selling.
Absolutely, absolutely. Kevin, I think that's the last one before we jump into the activities for today. Yes, Kevin?
Yeah, I think too, and hey Devin, hello everyone. I think I guess for me, I had a business model in mind when I first started. And what I realized is that I guess they didn't specifically say it, but the invisible customer or consumer that's inside of these various models are maybe the one that really resonates with what I do innately, the value that I bring to the table innately. I may have thought I aimed at this person or that group, but the invisible consumer that's in there that's really built for what I am innately designed to do comes to the forefront. And that for me was what I pulled from it. It kind of affirmed that aspect of it, finding that invisible consumer.
No, and that's you're absolutely right. I think, you know, so they always say that you can invent a problem, but you cannot invent a customer, right? You can design a problem, but you can't design a customer. So the fundamental aspect of this conversation is how well do we understand our customers, and how well do we know exactly what is it that they would like to have done, right? What functions they really want to perform. The question of innovation in the business model, I think, is something that we have to be thinking about in clear terms. When we say innovate the business model, why is that even something? Why do we innovate the business model? Ola, why do we innovate the business model?
I think that the space changes, right? Innovation within your business model, recognition that sometimes things change. When we think about the Amazon effect, right? Your ability to service your customer more quickly, or your ability to have to consistently compare yourself against other products in such a competitive space, right? Like when I think about Amazon particularly, it's a hyper-competitive marketplace. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, you have to be able to market your product in a way that draws them in. I always talk to my account manager. I'm like, are you sure I can't put some text on my first photo? Because I promise you, if I could, it'd probably deliver the value a little bit better. Because that's like, I'm like, man, I know my product is a little bit more expensive. I know on the first image, you might not grab its value. But if I could just put one word or two words on it, it deliver that value. So just trying to compete in that space forces me to, one, set my expectations a little bit differently on how I'm being received, but also going a little bit harder on, leveraging the other resources on these platforms, such as videos and video advertisements, to make sure that people are seeing that first, creating that top of funnel type of customer engagement, and then drawing them down to that conversion status. So setting my expectation on, I got to start at the top and come down. Adjusting that business model that way maybe means going to get more capital, so you can invest in marketing up front and getting your product ordered. One of my biggest issues is inventory, and just finally buckling down and saying, hey, I'm going to lose maybe, for this next few months, I might be under on my profit goals just because I'm investing up front, but come back in, I won't lose out on lost sales because I didn't have inventory available. So just adjusting in that context, I think the business model has to adjust.
Yeah, excellent. That's an excellent point. Kevin, you had one thing to say, yes?
Yeah, I also think it's important to to know that the life cycle of your product is something that you have to always be mindful of, because products have a life cycle. So in context of the business model, you have to be able to extract the DNA of what is valuable about what you do and rebirth it to meet the cycle. Because sometimes you can cycle out, or it's no longer a dominant thing, and then either A, it's over, or B, you have to shift and adjust to meet. And business model, how you do that is closely related, I believe.
Yeah, that is true, Kevin, but I would point out on that. I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that, but one of the things that helps you do that well is to track the customer's movements, right? Is the customer is the one that cycles the product in and out of service, not you, the creator of the product, right? That's the driver. Is really look at fast fashion or even the fashion industry. At one point in time, we had the bell-bottom pants and we're rocking it. That went out and then it came back in because the customer decided I would like to go back into the spaces. So they have that. They kind of have the handle when you think about the innovation space, innovation cycle. John, you're going to say something?
Can you reword the question?
I was asking the question, why business innovation? Why do we, and I don't think I've heard the answer yet, but I'm having people share their ideas around innovation. Why do we engage with the idea of the business model, innovate on the business model? What's the primary driver for doing so?
So Bevan, I wanted to, I forgot to, I think it was Kevin that was talking.
Yeah.
But to reinforce his point, right? So the customers can drive your business model, or you get market insight.
Mhm.
And that Amazon is a perfect example. Actually, when I was in business school, Jeff Bezos came to present to the class. Amazon was focused on books.
Mhm.
Amazon quickly realized that is not necessarily what they're great at. They're great at this infrastructure, logistics, and getting stuff from point A to point B, and then do so timely. And so they continue to reiterate and innovate on their business model.
Mhm.
And now it's pretty much whatever you want to buy and you can get it in hours, right? Or, so that's you're listening to maybe the customer or the marketplace. Then sometimes you introduce things that customers don't know they want. And that goes back to the Apple situation. Customers didn't know they wanted an iPod, right? Or didn't know that they wanted digital music and is MP3 better than CDs. But they innovated, introduced a beautiful product, and then continued to extract value. Same thing with Kodak. Now, Kodak is an example of you didn't listen to the market and you didn't innovate, and then you basically, your competition ate your lunch. So I do think there's a lot of merit to what Kevin said.
That is true. That is true. But when you make the example of Apple, though, anyone can jump in there. When they make was Apple moving blindly when you're thinking about the iTunes, the IP3, moving into the service?
No, they weren't. I mean, I just kind of wanted to go back to the original question as to why people should continue to innovate. I think it's just it's to stay relevant, right? Otherwise, you become irrelevant to the consumer and you no longer hold a place in their lives and your company dies.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was my thought as well. 2 years ago, when I attended the Amazon Accelerate, the guy who's the highest person up in Amazon, I don't remember his name or title, but he was saying that one of the main things that Amazon has said is that saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, no longer applies. He said, you have to be looking for the next great way to conduct business, or else you will be out of business. You know, that's basically what he was saying. And so that's what the innovation, one of the main reasons that you have to innovate is so that you can stay ahead of becoming obsolete.
And that's fundamentally what it is. I think so, Kimber, Tiana, I think you all really hit the nail on the head there, because the whole point of innovating is to capture future value, right? And I think some of us kind of get into spaces where we not as, actively trying to change. Change is hard sometimes when you create a product and you're like, well, I think I'm at a stage now, I want to sit back and relax and look at the product, ride the wave, and don't necessarily look closely at what the market is doing, what the customers are saying, and try to take the little bit of the risk that is necessary to remain valuable to the customer, right? And to kind of make yourself more, I mean, increase your value proposition then, right? Capture the future value that your product or service can actually get out of the customer that you're working for. Understand that I said working for, right? At some point in time, we said that we're looking to be independent, working for ourselves. Ultimately, the customer is the boss. If the customer doesn't want my product, I can't necessarily have a product. So somehow the customer remains somewhere in the central focus of what we do and what we talk about, especially in this session. And I think it will kind of bleed into the following session that we'll have next Tuesday. But that being said, and where we are with time, how many of us actually took the time off and looked at the video on the value proposition canvas? All right, excellent. How many of you actually attempted to go through the process for yourself? Wonderful. So what I would like to do, and I think in the spirit of community here, what I would want for us to do in the next 10, 15 minutes is to kind of get into breakout rooms and share your value proposition with your colleagues, right? And then when we get back into the main room, we'll have a conversation. We'll share a couple of the value proposition models that have been developed by you all and use it as a platform for discussion as to where we could probably sharpen the process. Are we really addressing the issues? I would say to you that ultimately the value proposition canvas by itself can be meaningless without having it overlap on top of the business model canvas, which you did for the previous session, right? Because we will come to the realization that without looking at the entire picture, then you may miss out on some of the critical pieces that you need to put back in order for your value proposition to actually function within the business model that you have established for yourself. So Dylan, if you want to kind of break it out into, any questions before that, by the way? Any questions from anyone? Any comments? And mark you, these sessions are kind of designed for us to kind of get to know each other. You're going to be randomly assigned groups. Please have a conversation. I would actually ask you all to, before you dive into this whole issue of, let me see your value proposition canvas, ask your colleague how they're doing, how is the day going, how is the business going, right? Take 30 seconds to a minute and have that conversation, because I feel like it is, it's part of the kind of coming together, getting to know each other and building a relationship that will go beyond this program, I believe. That's what community building is about. It's important. Come back. So I think, how was the conversation? How many people actually got this done and got it done in completion?
We need more time, Devin.
We need more time.
We didn't even get to start
Well,
our
you see,
group.
you didn't get time to start. You're just talking, right?
Evan, you told us to talk.
Yeah, the
You
challenge
told
is
us to
that
talk and we were talking. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's important. I mean, we have to know who is, for example, I know I can actually get a board game from Kim and Nick, right? Have we not had this conversation not been had, then how would I know?
right.
We didn't have the ability to share
helpful
either.
I'm sorry.
No, I was saying we didn't have the ability to share our screens. Instead
Oh,
of
really?
blocking that, yeah.
Oh, Dylan, maybe that's something we should work on.
Yeah.
I think in the teams. So was there anyone who actually went through and completed this canvas?
I think the challenge for us was that we were really trying to make sure that we understood the definition and how they differed within each of the respective bubbles, like pain relievers. We could never nail down what exactly.
So in the interest of time, maybe we can just, who wants to kind of volunteer their ideas, and we can just use it as, okay.
I'm going to be bold.
All right, Tiana. All right. You're muted.
Who is it?
Tiana, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. I'm steadily talking and.
Well, we can replay that button. Yes, let's hear it.
Yes, sir. I said I did it. The question is, did I do it correctly? I'm more than willing to share it if you want.
Please, let's share it then. Let's share it. All right, and you can make it a little bigger.
Yeah, I put it up too high. Okay, let me try that again. Okay,
All right.
do you want me to talk you through it, or are you gonna talk through it?
Well, yes, so we're gonna have, well, questions, right? So,
Okay.
well, who's your customer segment, by the way? Who's your customer?
So do you mean, like age and stuff like that?
No,
And-
just a segment. I mean, if someone has to ask you, who do you believe is your ideal customer? What would that be? Who would that be?
Health conscious individuals in the upper part of the, economic
Okay,
status.
Yeah.
Is that good?
that's one. That's good. Then who else is your customer? Anyone who would like to jump in on that and tell Tiana who is your next customer that she has here? I think all of you all have the very same customer at some level, you know.
Amazon?
Amazon. Yeah. So Amazon is a customer, it's a retailer, but you have to get and make your product satisfy Amazon's needs, right, in some capacity. So Amazon is a customer. Beyond Amazon, if you have your own, you know, path for your own channel, then you have to deal with, yes, you know, you have to think about the customer. There's also the concept that we have where that's been established that suggests that you don't sell to enterprise, you sell to people. There are people within the enterprise that utilizes the product or service that you provide, and they're the ones who make ultimately make the decision for the enterprise to buy the product from you, right? Excellent. So what are the jobs that the customers are trying to do? They're trying to heal and not get sick, avoid medicine, avoid surgeries.
Regenerate tissue and organs.
I mean, I think I should be your customer, yeah. I mean, who else is not going to be a customer? Who wants to be sick? Right? Who wants to know that when they have an injury, they can, I mean, I play soccer and I'm always questioning myself, if I twist my ankle, when will I heal? Now that I'm 50, you know? But it's an interesting customer, you know, jobs, right? So when you look at these jobs, what do you call them? Are they functional jobs, emotional jobs, social jobs? How do you categorize them?
I don't know. I would say functional.
Yes, they are functional, some yes. Yeah. But is that really all that customers want? Why would the customer want to be healthy?
Because of the lifestyle that it affords them?
The lifestyle it affords them, right? It also can be someone wants to feel good, or they want to have emotional, you know, aspect of it. So it could have an emotional and also a social component of it, right?
You're right.
Quality of life.
Quality of life, right?
Yeah, actually, one of our slogans is we help you feel that good again. So, yes.
That's right. So again, I think you can, and once you start separating them down into this kind of categories, it kind of pushes you to have really ask the customers different types of questions, right? So ideally, when you look at the jobs of the customers, I would say try to categorize them, right? You know, what are the functional jobs? What are the emotional jobs? What are the, you know, social jobs that they're trying to complete or have done? And the reason why the categories are important when you start thinking about this is it allows you to ask different questions, which might lead to different value propositions, right? Or an expansion on the value proposition. Identify service areas or opportunity areas that by just listing just functional jobs would not lead you to those sort of value propositions, or helping you articulate a narrative that provides or promotes the product or service that you have. Excellent. Maybe I stop a bit. One of the questions that I think I should ask, or maybe an observation that you may have seen when you did this, is that when you looked at the video, it did not come out straight out and tell you. But if you observe, it always started off with the customer profile, right? It started in the circle before you go to the square, the product. And it goes back to the conversations that we had at the beginning of class, where, you know, the core premise of innovation, the core premise of value creation, it comes from the customer and understanding the customer. So the value proposition model canvas, or the value proposition canvas, pushes you into the direction of, let's work with the customer, understand the customer well enough before we start thinking of the product design or the service that we want to create or build to really address the needs, you know, the pains and the gains of the customer.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Sure.
You know, we're dealing with different types of customers, right?
Yeah.
Do we really, I know this is like an exercise
Yeah.
in general, but like you take a marketplace for an example, right?
Uh-huh.
The pains and gains and, you know, that we have to address for like a marketplace like Amazon and that logistics and things like that and what's required to do business with that is different than what our product pains and gains is going to solve for the end user, right?
Absolutely.
So are we breaking this down differently? Like, are we using different value propositions for each customer, or are we grouping it all together in one lump, you know, one lump exercise?
Great question, Fareed. Great question. Does anyone have an answer for him?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
I kind of did it all. Like when I did the exercise, it was in the context of one, all my products, but also in the different contexts of like where they are, right? How they're trying to solve their issues, who they're trying to solve their issues for, who their general customer. So
Yeah.
for instance, yeah, go ahead, Devin. We have a short amount of time.
Yeah, so I would say maybe in the interest of time here, for it, you have to do it separately. The retail value proposition, Amazon, is totally different from the value proposition for the end buyer, for like a health conscious person saying, you know what, I'm going to go out to Tiana's website and purchase the product or purchase the service that she's offering. This requires a whole different value proposition. And the reason why it's important to actually separate those entities, because if you were to map this value proposition canvas back onto your business model canvas, you'll realize for every value proposition, there are tweaks that has to be done in the business model to actually achieve a full functioning business model around the innovation that comes out from the value proposition canvas. So again,
So with that in mind, you see, I just added make money because I was thinking of Amazon. You know, Amazon's job is to make money.
yeah, but not just that.
To heal.
But not just that. Amazon also wants you to be very visible, right? If you're not responding to meeting the criteria for an Amazon to be a success on Amazon, then you become, I guess, not a value creating entity to them, right? So there are certain things that Amazon wants to have completed on your side that you have to meet, some standards, right? Some processes that you've got to put in place to make sure that you remain relevant and functioning on Amazon platform that you have to perform. And for that, you may have to create new partnerships, new revenue streams, new channels, new other entities to make that happen for Amazon, which would be potentially different from if you're doing this separately for a different channel, right? So the value proposition canvas is really great at actually telling you, here are all of the different value propositions I can get from this based upon the type of customer profile that I have within my wheelhouse. But then when you take the customer profile back into the business model canvas, there may be tweaks and adjustments that have to be made to really function well in that space. So the other thing that I think we should touch based on the pains and the gains. So for example, believing this is possible, right? So that's a pain. How would you characterize that? One of the pains is what? Turning blue. Explain that a little bit, Tiana.
So when people take colloidal silver, if they overdose on it, they turn blue. That's the worst case scenario. Well, if you eat too many carrots, you turn orange. So it's really a minor reversible process, but people blow it up out of proportion. And so one of the pains for people is they're scared they're going to turn blue if they go that route.
Okay.
Out of colloidal silver.
Okay. And then so when you look at this, how would you characterize your gains? Are your gains just the opposite of your pains?
That's where I got kind of lost, but yes, it's kind of what it is. I don't know if that's what it should be.
I don't think, well, in essence, it should not be.
Okay.
So when you think about the pains kind of tell you exactly, it's like a high level stuff, right? It's like, if you think about it, you have access to the internet, you can go into many different spaces. You don't have access to the internet, well, you're limited, right? In many ways. Well, the pains are like that stuff. And if I kind of open up that pain, if I kind of resolve that pain, there may be a world of opportunities beyond this, right? And I think I was just talking to Gloria about this. And a classic example of this is if you need money, for example, I need to have money so I can actually use my credit card to pay for a meal with my friend, right? So the reality is the pain is that I need the money to pay for the meal. The gain is not just that I am able to buy the meal. The gain could potentially be that now I can use a credit card and gain points from using the credit card for travel purposes or other, benefits that come from having the card. So this is an additional gain that you get from the fact that now that I have money, right? So yes, you have addressed the pain, but having that conversation with the customer allows you to start seeing beyond just the one-to-one ratio from the pain to gain.
So like having that healthy lifestyle might be a gain.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can say that the healthy lifestyle outcome in some sense can say, well,
Okay, I see.
the gain, or no, I can run a marathon as opposed to walking 2 miles, right? I can go out and dance with my wife and be happy because now I have the energy to do so. And not just that I have the ability to get up and not be sick. Right? So these are other things that you can actually encapsulate, and that then becomes part of the narrative of what the value proposition really is for your product or service.
So I was confused on what the gain creators was too. Ola seemed to really understand that, but I was kind of lost there as well.
Okay. So the gain creators is so you have the pain relievers, right? The things that, and the nice thing about this is that what makes a perfect fit is when you can map the pain relievers to the pains, right? Basically, it's the light switch, right? I can turn the light on now, the pain is no longer there, and I can actually move on with my life. The gain creators is kind of the processes that you have within your system that allows those operations to happen, right? So it can go directly back into the business model in some sense. What are my relationship with my customers, the interactions that I have, the systems that I have in place to make sure that all of this works, right? The logistics that make all of this works.
Could the product itself be a gain creator?
It could be in some ways, yes.
So Bevan, so I have on the gain creator as the you say is the feature attribute and also or aspect of the product services.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. So it's an example. So when you look at the box is really the service of the product that you have that you're going to bring before the customer, right? This is really what the product entails. This is the design. This is all of the attributes that the product has to meet or has to perform to actually meet the customer pains against. So if you look back at Apple, right? And Apple realized with me they have this hardware, building this platform that does this hardware components. But now that I understand my customer well enough, and I know that MP3s are coming through and all the digital music as a service is something that's happening, I can actually create a product that would allow my hardware to be that entity that would allow my customer then to have those pain relievers, right? So they did not hang around and wait for someone to do it for them. They kind of created it because they understand that the customers needed to have those services. And I could create the iPod, right? And I could create those, the iTunes. So that becomes part of their services that they did, the innovation that came along with their product so that they would actually create those values. All of these other, so these services were gain creators in some ways that allow them to meet their customers' needs much more succinctly.
Okay.
Simon, you have your hands up, sorry.
I'm looking at her chart, and under the customer segment where she has pain, I thought that the it just seems like it's opposite of her pain reliever. It's her product, but why would her product be the opposite of what she's doing? Like, she has here colloidal silver, like turning blue from taking too much, but that's her product. So why is that considered a pain when it's her product? I mean, should your product create a pain or no?
But that's a great question. You're absolutely, I think you're right. So the product should not create, the product should, the customer should have a pain. What is the pain that the customer has?
So in this case, a pain that the customer has is the fear of turning blue from using the product. So, and this is a fear that's been created by the medical establishment to try and keep people away from the product because they can't make money off of it.
Well, then that would be a better characterization of it. Then. The barrier to them having this solution, this outcome, or whatever it is that they would like to be healthier, is the fear, right? So that would be a better characterization, right, Simone?
Yeah, absolutely.
So then is
that-
the pain
is that
reliever?
better?
Then
Is
is the
that
pain?
better?
Yeah. Is the pain reliever then surrounded around the education of the product then?
It could be that as well. It could be that as well, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm wondering if, I was thinking the same thing, and Simone brought that up, is that maybe Tiana is look at it as, so your customer, they're in the market and they're looking for what solutions that your product provides. So fear of turning blue, I think what I read in yours is that you weren't necessarily saying that the customer is in fear of taking your product or using your product and turning blue. You're saying it is a fear that's in the market with other products.
It's in the market, period. So it's a part of it's been put there by the medical establishment by pharmaceutical companies to prevent people from going down this path. And so what we do is we put a pamphlet in our package that educates them. And so that would actually be the pain reliever, that pamphlet.
So fear of turning blue using other market products or whatever,
Any
consumer.
product, the fear of turning blue from using every single colloidal silver product that's on the market.
Gotcha.
Which it's a ridiculous fear, but it's been effective at preventing people from even trying it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, I would want to try it, but I never knew of this fair. So it's not all customers.
Let me just say that in order to turn blue, you would have to drink a couple of bottles a day for a couple of months. Take Tylenol, for example, half of one bottle and you're approaching 6 feet under. So it's a ridiculous fear, but it's an effective fear.
Okay. So that's, I think, I mean, again, I would say that this is not something that I believe anyone or you all would get on the first time around perfectly. As a matter of fact, I think there is an entire series from Strategizing themselves as to how best to utilize this tool to look at different, product, services, market segments. I will put this up as a resource so you can look at it. I think I'll do that right after this session is over. But fundamentally, I think what I would want you all to get from this is that, look, this allows you to think about your customer, look at potentially where you are with your product and services, and give you ideas as where you could potentially capture future value whilst you try to grow your business, right? And not just be static and say, well, look, I have a product, I have a service, I have a channel, and I'm just going to keep building products and supplying Amazonic products, right? There may be other avenues and other opportunities that are already available to me in some sort of value creation that I have that I'm not necessarily taking the benefits of capturing the value for. And as such, can I take this now and put it back onto my business model and see, well, what do I have to change in my business model to really make this a reality for me? Right. Kevin?
I wanted to ask your opinion about something like Sears and Roebuck, for instance. Like how they were heavily invested in real estate. Real estate was a core to their success, not just what they provided, but what gave them the longevity as a company. How do we apply that in the context of a business model?
So like when you say Sears, the department store, having real estate was a big component of their strategy, right? I mean, having the large.
Yeah, real estate, like a lot of companies rented or leased and that sort of thing. But they were huge landowners, which allowed them to expand over the long term, and provided not only their consumers a place to go to and have a mail order service back when that was innovative, but it lasted beyond the life cycle even of their company. Like the land was there.
So land, I think, I guess real estate has a whole different model, right? I mean, there's a real estate market valuation that goes through cycles, and if you look at the real estate market in certain locations, it's never going down. So there may be, for them, opportunities to buffer the down cycles, right? There are geographical areas where Sears, because I own the property, the real estate value of this asset, the asset value remains irrespective. I would say that this may not be a great example, because when we look at the type of world that we live in, for example, the biggest department store is Amazon in some sense, right? I can get anything off of Amazon if I want it. And not just in the US, but even in international markets, if it's available in the spaces. So there has been a lot of innovation around the business model and the logistics that come along with regards to the technology, the digital spaces, e-commerce, Amazon themselves, and all of the analytics that they have brought to the space, right? Technology they brought to the space that would make a Sears kind of absolute.
Well, this was the point that I was getting to. So look at Bill Gates, who is the largest farm land owner, and he was the tech guy.
Oh yeah.
But now he's the largest farmland owner.
I would say I think he's brilliant because he realized that everyone has to eat. No, seriously. I mean, if you think about it, it's like everyone has to eat, and if I have, the bandwidth to do that, then again, it's almost gilded security in some sense, right?
So the video that Rob posted talked about 50 companies that had 55 business models that you can rotate through, and so it sounds like that's kind of what you all are talking about. I would highly recommend that video for everybody to watch. You too, Bevan, because it might be something you might want to add to the course material. It's really awesome.
Absolutely. I would say, and that's the beauty of being in my position. I'm always learning. It's amazing. But and again, but I think, having those tools and really putting them into action is where you can actually get the results, right? Gives you that sort of a strategic orientation in terms of how do I approach my business, right? How do I create value? How do I capture value? And we have the next session is how do you measure performance, right? How do you measure that what I'm doing is actually worthwhile? Because we're living in a world where people are collecting data, right? There is a huge amount of data out there, and data can actually lead you down the wrong path, right? So there are people that are measuring too much, and that's not adding any value to them. And you cannot capture it in the reading that is for the next class. And then there are people who are over-reporting and there are people under-reporting. So you have to figure out where is the sweet spot for you, especially as a small organization looking to grow. Where do I spend my resources so that I can get the best bang for my buck? So that would be the highlight of the next session. For the next session, you have Andrea Roberts will be the one leading the session. Wonderful, excellent professor. I think you will really enjoy her. Tons of experience. And I think she's really excited about, being a part of this program. That being said, tomorrow, Wednesday, I will not be available for office hours. I will be on a plane traveling, kind of the last hoopla before you get back into the school, into the classroom. But the following Wednesday, I'll be available. And if there are any questions that you have, I can certainly take your questions by email. I'm happy to answer emails. Don't feel like I'm not you running the business. I still have some bandwidth to answer emails, right? So if you have a quick email, a quick question, or some insights that you would like to share or questions, please don't hesitate.
Where is your email address located?
Oh my goodness, Dylan. Tiana doesn't have my email address. It's I think it's either on the website, but I can drop it into here so you have it. It's bevin@virginia.edu. Let me just do that.
bevin@virginia.edu.
Yeah.
He placed it in chat.
Yeah.
Oh, he just placed it in chat. Thank you.
Bevin, do you have a product?
If I have my product?
If you have a product.
If I have a product? I used to be I started an energy company that both Keisha and I were part of before we kind of exited. And currently I am in a startup mode doing a meadery. We're making wine out of honey. We're starting a meadery in Virginia. So that should be off. Well, the product is wine. Yes, it should be off on the market in the fall.
Do you need a partner?
Congrats.
Asking all the right questions. You're asking all the right questions. Well,
What part of Virginia?
Charlottesville. In Charlottesville.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in
It's
Virginia.
an interesting product. It's going to be a net zero meadery where we are making sure that all of the energy that we use in the product is accounted for.
Congratulations, bro. Both.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
fantastic.
How does your wine compare to Cooper's Hawk's wine?
I think we're going to have the best one in the market, to be honest with you.
Like you should say that.
I'd like to fly over and taste it.
You should. But no, it's wonderful. I think it's a great product. And let's see, by the end of the session, I will let you know. I'll let you see it, and maybe I can probably share it. Maybe if you're shopping Charlottesville, you'll get a taste of it.
Maybe we can do a tasting at Accelerate.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If not your wine, if it's not ready though, hey, we can get some other wine and taste that.
I'm with you, Veronica.
It should be prototype.
Right. Either way, we're drinking something.
Right. That's for sure.
Is any of your wine sweet?
Some of it is. I mean, honey is the foundation for the wine. It's wine made out of honey.
Oh,
But
wow.
the honey comes from different locations. So we have honey from Ethiopia, honey from Kenya, honey from Colombia. Because honey has its own DNA based on the floral type that the bees use to make the honey. So and then we age it in bourbon barrels, so it has that sort of a flavor as well. So it's an interesting product, I would say.
How many percent alcohol?
Sorry? Oh, 12%.
How many percent?
11-12%.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's a wine. I mean, I'm not
Right. This ain't gin, like.
It's not Rare Nephew.
Oh, okay. 80 proof.
Red or white? Red or white? Because I get drunk on red wine.
We have different colors. I mean, if we use, because we also use fruits in there as well. So depending on the fruits that we use, we can have a red, white. Yeah, it's
nice section.
Oh, I can't wait to try it. I'm new to wine, so I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, it's never too late.
I like to mix my wines.
I mean, is that part of the Amazon program?
So what makes one different from what you have in the market right now?
Sorry?
What make your wine different from whatever they offer in the market right now? We have
Well,
thousands of wine in the market right now. How you gonna make a
Well,
difference?
for one thing, I think we are taking a full sustainability approach to this. The idea of using the bees as the foundation of our product. We're working with pollinators, right? So we have that environmental focus. We're using the way of nature, even the way that our bees are grown and managed. We take care of that very closely. Created partnerships with Rivian. So we have a full net zero delivery system. I mean, it's yeah. So
Interesting.
the other thing about it is, Jean, is that we don't have, because most wine is come from grapes. I mean, we know of the environmental footprint, the water usage, the chemicals that they use in producing grapes. Can be a challenge.
So
But let us see.
so
We can have a conversation about this in the next.
So there are
summer.
no grapes? There are no grapes in your wine? Is that what you said?
It's no grapes, no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. The
So,
fermentation,
Bevan-
the fermentation comes from the honey.
so
Oh, I
what?
think I missed that bit.
That's good.
Wow.
So what are the gain creator?
We need another session. Can you imagine? I think.
My mother used to make wine with chayotes, chocho.
We need another session for that. I think it would take me into another 2 hours.
Case study. Hello.
Yeah, case study. Dylan.
Oh yeah, one more
Please.
thing.